greatest things about Spider-Man's outfit, his costume?
What?
He is completely covered. So any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man because no color of the skin shows. He could be black under that. He could be red. He could be yellow. He could belong to any race. And that
True.
wasn't done purposely. It was done accidentally. But I think it was the best thing we did, making him so that he could be anybody under that costume.
What makes someone a superhero? Or better yet, what makes someone a hero? Maybe it's handing someone their wallet after they dropped it in the street, or calling authorities when you think something's off with your next door neighbor. Whatever being a hero is, we typically attribute it to doing something good in life. Personally, I think to be a superhero you must be a hero first. That is, accepting the challenges in life and overcoming them. Even making mistakes along the way, but in the end always finding your way back to what you consider morally good. Which then begs the question, how does anyone decide what's morally good? That's pretty much what pushed me to want to make this video. Rewatching what I think is going to end up being up there with some of the greatest duologies of all time, and hopefully one of the greater trilogies of all time, Spider-Verse brought uncomfortable conversations to the mainstream. Conversations that were typically kept in the comic book world. Now, don't take me as a comic book expert. I like the concept of them, but I do think inflation is killing the industry. No matter how good the art is, people like it when their floppies don't exceed $1. Regardless, from what I do know about the comic book industry, it's cherished by its fans, sometimes too much so, which unfortunately can bring a level of toxicity that makes it difficult for things to progress over time. Spider-Man, first appearing in 1962's Amazing Fantasy number 15, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, was a character that became an instant hit with fans, arguably becoming the most popular superhero, even more so than the likes of Batman and Superman. Whether it was the death of Uncle Ben, the determination to escape the rubble, or throwing away the Spider-Man costume because he felt no one respected him, then remembering Uncle Ben's words which led him to get his costume back, the fans were enamored with him, and rightfully so. An era of great stories were told with this character, stories that were presented in a way that was familiar and, to some, natural. That is until So when did Miles become a thing? Well, that was back in 2011. Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli created the character where he would debut in Ultimate Fallout number 4. Can you believe they had Barack Obama and Donald Glover in mind when they were writing this kid? Insane. Now, admittedly, comic book Miles isn't all that interesting to me. Granted, I don't know how good the newer ones are. I remember trying to get into the Absolute Carnage storyline. I heard it's good, but I never kept up with it. It's just, with Miles it can be hit or miss, which I guess isn't unique to him, but what I'm trying to say is, there's 3 Miles we tend to think of in pop culture. Insomniac Miles, Spider-Verse Miles, and comic book Miles. Between the 3, Spider-Verse Miles is clearly the best, and definitely the most recognizable. While he's become a beloved character in pop culture, he's gotten some hate since his inception, which is common for characters that aren't white, or a dude for that matter. As it goes, when the trailer for Into the Spider-Verse came out, people all over the world were excited. Not just because of Miles, but we were looking at our first real glimpse of what would become the new wave of Western animation. The Mitchells vs. the Monsters, Puss in Boots, Mutant Mayhem, all great films, but they all got the same daddy, and that's Into the Spider-Verse. And with Miles leading the helm, the heat was coming for him. Here's a dude's quote I found on Quora in a discussion about blackwashing characters. I agree. While I've nothing against Miles Morales as such, I think it's disgusting how he's been chosen to become the new Spider-Man when there's really no need for a new Spider-Man. To me, diversity can be a good thing, but it's all too often misused as a political tool to further a certain type of agenda. And in the case of Miles Morales, the intention is very much, as you say, to blackwash a well-known and beloved character. Some would call me racist for saying this, but I disagree. I'm not a racist, I simply respect the original intention of the artist. Spider-Man was created as white, young men who got bitten by a spider and developed amazing powers, and the stories written about him were not overtly political in nature or in any way race conscious. Now, this isn't going to be an attack on this guy. I'm not going to call him racist, but I think he and many who share his sentiment aren't familiar with the character they claim to love so much. Stan Lee never went out of his way to say Spider-Man had to be a white guy. Instead, he focused his efforts on making the person behind the mask a believable character.
We tried to make our characters have feet of clay. Now, poor Spider-Man. I mean, okay, he's pretty good at catching bad guys, but he's apt to get an allergy attack while he's fighting. He worries about dandruff. He'll have an ingrown toenail, tears his costume. His Aunt May won't let him go out to save the world because he's not wearing his galoshes and it's snowing out.
The character of Spider-Man isn't so much about the color of someone's skin or the gender they identify with, but rather their ability to use their power for, come on, you know how it goes.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Don't get me wrong, if you're gonna make black characters, yeah, I'd appreciate it if they were new rather than reskins, but I just don't think that sentiment works here. Ultimately, all this is what made these two films all the more impactful to me, especially Across the Spider-Verse. Hearing Miguel call out Miles as an anomaly, saying he isn't Spider-Man, I mean, I couldn't help but connect that to the criticisms that character has received since he was first introduced in 2011. So with that being said, let's dive into the hero behind the mask. Finally, we can talk about the movies. Well, in Into the Spider-Verse, we're introduced to a kid who at one point had it all figured out, but was quickly about to have his life changed when transferring to a new school. In this universe, Spider-Man already exists, and he's a perfect depiction of Peter Parker. Not perfect in the sense of Peter's 1962 design, but perfect in a more idealized way of Peter Parker. White, blonde hair, blue eyes, and fit. When Miles is bitten by the Earth-42 spider, his life completely changes. This wasn't really his fault, rather Kingpin, Spot, and Liv Octavius' fault, as their experiments with the particle collider brought that spider over to Earth 1610, our Miles' universe.
I ran a test on this collider that brought a spider here from another dimension.
42.
Its home dimension. It escaped, and it bit you.
Pretty quickly, we see the whole original anomaly dilemma that Miguel was referring to. We'll get to that though. Miles is taken in by Peter B. Parker, who Miles learns isn't the mentor he hoped for, but was certainly the one he needed. He's only a 13-year-old kid in the first movie, and so it was difficult for him to fit in with the other Spider people. Gwen, Noir, Porker, Penny, they were all experienced, and while I think Miles started out not so excited about being Spider-Man, he eventually did, but he didn't feel part of it. He then learned that his Uncle Aaron was the Prowler.
I'll find them. You know me, sir. I don't ever quit.
From that point on, what started out as a promise made to a great hero became personal. Miles couldn't evade the Prowler forever. Once Aaron finally catches him, Miles reveals his face to him. All of Aaron's regrets overcame him. He knew his mistakes had finally caught up with him, and those mistakes would embody itself into someone he holds dear.
You're the best of all of us, Miles. You're on your way. Just keep going.
What at first seemed a tragic part of Miles' life was actually later labeled by Miguel as a canon event. Well, what are canon events?
Chapters that are a part of every Spider story, every time. Some good, some bad.
Canon events are synonymous with Spider people, as Miguel says, but let's not jump too far ahead. After the death of Uncle Aaron, Miles is at rock bottom. With a bit of encouraging words from both his father and Peter B. Parker, Miles finally locks in. He takes his leap of faith, he makes a suit with Aunt May, and now he's ready to save the day. By the end of the film, he destroys the collider after an epic battle with Kingpin. Miles completes his journey, but little did he know, his journey was only just beginning.
So are you like a cow or a Dalmatian?
I am the Spot. We meet again, Spider-Man.
Across the Spider-Verse takes place 2 years after Into the Spider-Verse. While Miles is definitely more accustomed to his spider abilities, we quickly see that his personal life and hero duties are becoming more and more convoluted.
You guys used to chase us out of your stores, and now, if you can believe it, it's my job to look out for you. And then I had a kid, and everything changed for the better.
For the last 2 years, he's had to handle the Spider-Man thing alone. He no longer had the support of the others, and it was hurting the relationship between him and his mother. Gwen had her struggles too, no longer in her universe after her confrontation with her dad. She felt she had no choice but to join the Spider Society.
I don't know how to fix this.
Yeah.
Well, join the club.
Once she decides to see Miles again, it's clear she's hiding something. Regardless, it's a beautiful scene. They catch up, talk about their lives over the last 2 years, even hint at a love thing that I'm not all that in favor of, but still, it was a touching scene.
In every other universe, Gwen Stacy falls for Spider-Man. And in every other universe, it doesn't end well.
I can't lie. While I'm not interested in them dating, this scene hurt your boy a little bit. Well, Miles and Gwen have a bit of an awkward moment back at Miles' dad's party, but this gives Rio the opportunity to give Miles a much needed pep talk.
And he never doubts that he is loved. And he never lets anyone at those big fancy places he's gonna be in tell him that he doesn't belong there.
What I love most about this scene is her telling him not to let anyone tell him he doesn't belong. I mean, it's the story of Miles' entire character, across all forms, comics, movies, games, etc. And not just him, Gwen and all those other characters. They belong.
Goodbye, Miles.
This is where things kick off. Gwen is about to leave forever, and Miles is forced to either accept it or follow her. He, of course, chooses to follow her. Gwen ain't too happy about it on the outside, but I don't care because Pavitra is so cool.
Being Spider-Man is so easy. I wake up, skip the workout because I'm naturally buff and I don't want to get too big, you know? Do almost nothing with my amazing hair.
You don't use any product at all.
Just coconut oil, prayer, some genetics.
Pavitra is more than his hair though, dude. You see, he's about to experience his canon event. He'll have to decide between saving the love of his life or saving the captain. When it seems like things are gonna end pretty badly, Miles steps in to help.
You're all right.
I promised.
Gwen does try to prevent Miles from stepping in, and I think that's the complicated thing about this franchise. We have to believe that all these spider people are content with letting their loved ones die for the greater good, but it just doesn't seem accurate. Well, we learned a bit more back at the Spider Society. Oh wait, I can't believe I forgot.
Bit of advice. Use the palm, not just your fingers.
This dude's a real one, man.
How are you even cooler under your mask?
I was just cool the whole time.
Back at the Society, Miguel is introduced, and this dude is straight up juicing on spider venom, I think. Honestly, I don't know anything about the character. I briefly remember playing as him on Shattered Dimensions as a kid, but beyond that, I'm lost on the guy. But he explains that all their stories are woven together in a big web called something really hard to say, but Miles calls it the Spider-Verse. It's implied that the Spider folks are probably put up to speed after their canon event happens. At least I hope so, because again, it just doesn't make sense for them to all just be okay with this. Well, Miguel reveals that a common situation that occurs during canon events are the deaths of the police captain. Uh-oh, Miles just saved one of them. And an even bigger uh-oh.
My dad is about to be captain.
All I knew at that moment was that it was finna get real. My boy Hobie told Miles to use his palms rather than just his fingertips, and now the race was set to begin.
And then I looked at my uncle and...
Let me guess. He died?
Nothing in life makes me happier than this scene does, man. By the end of the chase sequence, we're finally caught up to speed as to what in the hell Miguel's problem is with Miles. He reveals he's not just an anomaly, but the original anomaly.
If you hadn't been bit, your Peter Parker would have lived.
Instead, he died, saving you. He would have stopped the collider before it ever went off. Spot wouldn't exist, and none of this would have happened.
I'm not gonna lie, kinda hard to argue his point, but it's later shown that he doesn't know what would happen if Miles saved his dad. Regardless, Miguel messed up here.
You don't belong here. You never did.
Let me go!
Yo, that's enough!
This isn't what we talked about!
You talked about this?
Miles has, at this point, taken in so much at one time. Now he learns that the people he trusted knew everything all along. We as viewers get why they kept it from him, but we also understand Miles' anger. Because of that, I think Miles thought of what his mother told him. Don't let them tell you you don't belong.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah,
I'm gonna do my own thing.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Well, Miles heads back to base, and is luckily able to escape with the help of Spider-Bite. Although, I saw a theory that she may have known Miles wasn't going to end up in his own universe, but that wouldn't make much sense as it seemed like everyone was lost as to where the kid ended up. I don't know, but I am excited to see what they do with Spider-Bite's character. Man, a team of Spider-Punk, Spider-Bite, Gwen, Porker, Peter B, Pavitr, Penny, and Noir? Like, dude, they're the Avengers, man. Speaking of Gwen though, one of the most important moments comes when her dad reveals that he quit his job, meaning he won't be captain, which also means that he's likely not gonna die. So is Gwen's universe doomed? That's the tricky part about all this. Sure, the spider is from Earth 42. Miguel was right when saying that the spider wasn't from Miles' universe, but it was Spot and Octavius who messed with the collider. Miles had no idea. Besides, he experienced his canon event. He faces all the same everyday issues associated with the spider person. Granted, so did Miles from Earth 42, but that doesn't help Miguel's argument. I mean, his universe is still standing clearly. Perhaps it was fated to bite Miles from 1610. Could it have been fate for a transdimensional traveler such as Spot to cause a rupture in the Spider-Verse? Considering he has that power, how is it out of the question that our Miles wasn't always meant to be bitten by Earth 42 spider? Weirder things have happened. We just don't know. All I can say is, Beyond the Spider-Verse can't come soon enough. Throughout all of this, I think it's clear that all of these heroes, while different, share more qualities with each other than not. It's the little things. It's getting a cake for your dad's big day. It's acing that math exam. It's having to make tough decisions. When I read The Art of Across the Spider-Verse, and I'm about to trigger some Star Wars fans, but Amy Pascal said something I really liked. She said, "The best villains in any story have similar problems to what the main character has." Spot has all these physical holes that embodies him. Throughout the film, he tries to fill those holes figuratively, and that's not all too different from Miles, Gwen, even Miguel. They're all looking for peace, closure, something to fill in what was lost to them. Miguel sees being Spider-Man as a sacrifice. Is that what makes a hero? I don't know. Overall, it's hard to tell what makes someone a hero, or even if we should have to try to be a hero in the first place. Shouldn't we just be inherently good? It's more complicated than that, I guess. This whole video I've been trying to act like some scholar. I got a bachelor's in animation, for crying out loud. Who do I think I am? Well, anyways, I hit 100 subscribers over the last few days. I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate you supporting me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel, my dude. I really like this discussion. To all the anomalies out there, never let anyone tell you you don't belong. Until next time.
We were friends, you know.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.